So this is a video I have meant to make for literally years on end because I get asked about it quite a bit, and instead of typing the whole damn thing out over and over and over to the point where I should probably just have like a copy paste ready, I'd rather just make a video and be able to just drop the link to it and have the answer just be out there. And then I was thinking, I should probably do one of these for each of my fandoms, really. I probably won't do them back to back because that seems overkill, but this is the story of how I got into the Beatles, because I know a lot of people are kind of baffled by that, even though I know nowadays it's not that uncommon to be a younger person who is into the Beatles, but when I was growing up, trust you me, it was not a cool thing yet back then, and I was generally always the weird kid for it, and nobody quite understood how or why I was a fan of something so old, so before my time. So I'm just gonna put it down on the record here, and like I said, it'll be there to link people to as needed. And also, I have a friend that I'm trying to get into the YouTube game too, who is also going to be making one of these videos of how she got into the band as well. She hasn't filmed hers yet as of my recording this, but she might be doing it later today. I don't know if that means it's going up today or not. When it is, I will actually link to it down below so you guys can go watch over on her channel. We're actually planning on doing a lot of videos in tandem back and forth, so that's a thing. But anyways, so my Beatles fan story starts out simply enough in that my mom was a diehard Beatle fanatic herself, to the point where my middle name is Michelle, after the song, because she so desperately wanted a Beatle fan for a kid. Oh, she had no idea what she was unleashing on the world in wanting that, because I eclipsed her within, like, being a few years old, and she was just like, oh god, what did I do? But she was, like, the type who did the whole headphones on the stomach, cliche as it freaking sounds. It was mostly Beatles, and I apparently responded to it, even in utero, like, more so to that than to anything else that she played, because it wasn't the only thing she played me, but because I responded the most to it, she played more of it for me, and she was very pleased with this. Ironically, she also played a bunch of the Monkees to me, too. She also played Kansas. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, I suppose, but didn't really latch on to Kansas, since a lot of their music just makes me think about my own mortality, and even as a tiny child made me think about that. It kind of scared me, so kind of put me off of them. But the other two, you know, I latched onto them, and there was a bunch of just random ass things too that she apparently played that way that I later ended up becoming a fan of. So I don't know if that was just coincidence. I don't know if that had something to do with it, but I can literally say, for me at least with the Beatles, it has literally been a from birth, actually since before birth thing with them for me. And I know, it sounds stupid, it sounds cliche as hell, but it legit goes back that far for me, so there is that. And because she was a fan, she was always playing their stuff for me, and showing, like, I would say the movies, but not entirely. Incidentally, the one she probably should have been showing a little kid was the one she wasn't. Like, I didn't see Yellow Submarine till I was, like, 12. Even though that would be the one that would make sense to show a little kid, but no. She showed me, like, everything else. I was just always aware of their existence, and I always liked them, but at the same time, I didn't, like, start calling myself a Beatle fanatic until several years on, even though I did just instinctively, I was drawn to them from day one. Even when I would, like, play with toys, I had, like, a little jewelry box of, like, toy jewelry, especially rings, and I was like, I'm gonna be that ring guy, because apparently that was Ringo's name in my head. Apparently at all of 2 and 3 years old, I was already trying to be Ringo. Straight up. We have a home video that backs this up. If I knew how to convert it and get it onto YouTube, I would show you guys, because it's actually kind of adorable. But yeah, it legit goes back that far. So, there's that, and the Beatles cartoon series, even though it wasn't technically them, it wasn't their voices on it, they had nothing to do with it other than the songs in it were legitimately their songs. I watched that growing up too. And as much as people shit all over the cartoon series and say how bad it sucked, sorry, it has a special place in my heart because I grew up with it. Even though it wasn't really my demographic, well, I shouldn't say that. I was right in the demographic, but it wasn't really my generation. But back then it was like all the cartoons that were being shown were like the classic kind of cartoons, like the Pink Panther and Looney Tunes and Quick Draw McGraw, Mighty Mouse, like stuff like that. Like old school cartoons are what I grew up on. So this was right in that wheelhouse. Not gonna lie, pretty much all of those I still like too, by the way. But yeah, so it goes all the way back for me. And yet, it didn't really, like, register going out of my way for them until I was probably about 7, I want to say. Even though I know I definitely was listening to them before that. Although, interesting side note, I was born right into that generation where Ringo was Mr. Conductor on Shining Time Station. So, funnily enough, I did not connect the dots that Ringo was Mr. Conductor until I was probably, I don't know, like 10? Which is really pathetic that I was still watching Shining Time Station at 10, but shut the hell up, we didn't have cable at home. Let me answer this real quick. Come on. My phone is so slow. Okay. Anyway. So, that would come later, when it all began to click, but that wasn't yet. But going to about 7, my dad drove this, like, old school Cadillac, like, straight up Pimp Daddy Caddy, and it had an 8-track player in it. I know I'm old, but, like, 8-tracks were not really a thing by the time I was a kid, so it's like, why? But still, he had all these classic rock albums on 8-track, and he would play them in there. But the one I latched onto, and I latched onto hard, holy shit, was Sgt. Pepper. And of all the songs on it, wouldn't you know, what song did I latch onto harder than anything? With A Little Help from My Friends. So Ringo was just like on all freaking sides. And I was liking him on multiple levels without even realizing it yet. So knowing this, my mom brought out her vinyl copy of Sgt. Pepper and showed me which one he was on there. And he was the one in the pink. And at that age I was like, it's even my favorite color! Oh my god, he's awesome! Oh my god, I want his outfit! Fast forward 20 years, now I have it. I mean, not literally that one's in a museum somewhere, but I have my own replica of his Sgt. Pepper costume, which I believe I have as my avatar here on YouTube. I have it as my profile picture most places online. It's never going to get old to me. Just saying. So, anyways, yeah, she showed me that, and I was just intrigued by this cover and everything going on it, to where after the day that she showed it to me, I would, like, sneak into where she had her vinyls, and I would find it. Like, I would read down the spines, I would find it. It was easy enough, because the red spine on it stood out amongst the crowd of the other ones. I'd very carefully pull it out of there. I'd spend hours just staring at that cover and all the intricate details on it, and looking at, like, the gatefold picture on the inside, the pictures on the back, and just reading through all the words, the lyrics printed on the back, and just, I was enamored by it, and I couldn't really explain why, but it got to where it was like, every time we got in the car, no matter what was actually on, I was asking for Sgt. Pepper. Every single time. And if my dad didn't put it on, I would, like, have a full-on Asperger's meltdown, which we didn't realize that was what that was yet, but they just thought I was being a brat, which, that too, but, like, legit, creature of habit, I just wanted it every single time. I got in the car, play me the whole album, except for George's song. Skip that one, it's weird. was what I would say back then. Now I actually like that song. So, just saying, no hate, no shade thrown at George, especially since it's technically his birthday. I mean, depending on paper which version you go for. I mean, the publicly accepted answer is the 25th, but his birth certificate says the 24th, so, no shade towards George, not trying to throw shade on him. Anyways, just stating facts of how they went down. But anyways, I just wanted to hear it every single time I was in the car, and I went through a phase where pretty much every single song on that album was my favorite song of the moment, depending on what day it was. But it really, hardcore went between, With a Little Help from My Friends, Lovely Rita, and When I'm 64. To this day, I think those are the ones I gravitate the hardest to. Yes, I know there's that whole meme with Paul's granny music with When I'm 64, but bite me. Bite me. I love it. I have no shame. I love it, and I've always loved it. I always will love it. So, anyways, let me let the dog out real quick. I will continue this in a minute. Okay, sorry about that. But anyway, so I was completely enamored with this album, to the point where my dad even took the vinyl copy and he, made a cassette copy for me so I could play it whenever I wanted to. Which translated roughly to 24/7 for, 3 years straight. Yep, not even exaggeration. And I still demanded to hear it in the car every time we got in the car. Didn't matter how long of a car trip it was, didn't matter how short of a car trip it was, we could be in the car for 3 minutes and I would still want it on, to hear however much I could of it in that amount of time. Yep, that was a thing. And then my mom started telling me about this movie that she knew as a teenager that was called Sgt. Pepper, and I was like, oh, it has a movie? And she tried to, describe, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, the band in the group, who had the kaleidoscope eyes, except the way she described them, definitely does not match up with what I had in my head and what's in the movie. Her description didn't even really fit how they look in the movie, but I was, full on picturing somebody with, kaleidoscope contacts and shit. I was mildly disappointed when I finally did see this movie years later. I was like, that's it? That's what you were raving about? Those are the supposed kaleidoscope eyes? That's just glitter. That is just glitter. You lied. But anyway, so she was telling me about this, and I put it on such a pedestal of, I need to see this movie at some point in my life. Even though the Beatles aren't technically in it, but for whatever reason, that detail somewhere along the line got lost in translation between then and when I finally did see it, and was like, I got ripped off, they're not in it, and I never said they were in it. I was like, yeah, you did. And, no, I didn't. Oh. I see. But again, that's way down the line, so we're still on the Sgt. Pepper phase. This went on, in the car anyway, for 2 years straight, until one day, as fate would have it, the 8-track player ate it. And it meant an untimely demise that could not be fixed. Although, my dad probably could have fixed it, and he was so burned out on it, he was like, nope, can't be fixed, in the trash. And oh my god, it was the end of the world as far as I was concerned. I was traumatized. I, to this day, do not trust 8-tracks after seeing just the carnage of what happened there. But I cried so hard over that, you have no idea. You have no idea. So, in my trauma of this, never mind that I had my own cassette copy I could still listen to anytime I wanted to. Not the same. Not the same. But in my grieving for this, he made a copy of another Beatle album for me. He copied A Hard Day's Night for me, except that, in hindsight, it wasn't the album version, it was the soundtrack version, which was the US version. My mom actually didn't have the album version and didn't know that there was a difference. She just thought that was the A Hard Day's Night album. I would find out as a teenager that it wasn't, but still. at that age, I guess I would have been about 9, that was enough to just tide me over. And alright, I'm placated. Fine. Fair enough. I'll listen to this now. And I liked it. I mean, the songs that they're actually on are better, of course, but even the instrumental tracks of the songs, I mean, I also grew up listening to, like, big band music and, like, Judy Garland, so I was just fine with those instrumental tracks. They were fine by me, so I quite enjoyed it. And then I started digging out that album and just staring at that cover, and there wasn't as much going on it, so I didn't do it as much over it, but because of the way that the photos were cropped in that one, they were all from about here up on their heads. I would, like, go in the mirror and try to, like, frame my face that way in it and try to pretend to be each one of them because I'm a lame ass like that who had no life, but gosh, I have recreated those photos so many times over now that I have access to digital cameras and shit. You have no idea. One of them even made it up as an Etsy shop photo for one of my items. If you pour through there, you'll be able to find it very easily, but yeah, not coincidence, that was very much intentional on my part for that headband, so anyways, but yeah, so Hard Day's Night came next, even if it wasn't technically the album, and this was the calm before the storm, because one day, I used to get up, like, way before my parents did, so I kind of had free roam of the living room and the TV in those early morning hours, because I didn't have a TV in my room yet. I was digging through the VHS cabinet, and I found this movie that my mom had talked about for freaking ever since I was little. It was The Incredible Mr. Limpet. I'd heard about it, but hadn't seen it. So I pulled this out, not noticing the other titles on this tape. It wasn't rewound to the beginning, so, Limpet was not watched that day, but Help and A Hard Day's Night were on that tape. Oh, this sealed the fate. It was pretty much right at the start of Help is where this was at when I popped the tape in and hit play, because I didn't stop to look and see if it was around or not, and who are they? And I was sucked into the music because it felt so familiar. I knew damn well, I know this from somewhere. She didn't write Beatles on the tape, so it was only the titles, and I'm sitting there, and as the names are getting said over and over, some little light bulb went ding in my head of, wait. Are these the Sgt. Pepper guys? Oh my god! I ran and I woke my mom's ass up and, Mom, on this tape, is this the guys who did Sgt. Pepper? And she was so mad that I woke her up over this and, yes, why? And as of that day, I took over that tape. She never got it back again. It was mine after that day. I watched it until I wore it out, and it literally broke. But, that took years to accomplish that, by the way. But, oh my god. It was like love at first sight with the movie Help, and that movie is still forever, like, kind of one of the most special Beatle things to me, because it was what really sealed me in as a self-proclaimed Beatlemaniac. Because, again, I was already a fan, I just didn't really know I was a fan yet. This is where I started saying I was a fan. So I latched on to Help really hard. I actually didn't even go into A Hard Day's Night right at first, even though it was on the same tape. I kind of just stuck with Help for, oh gosh, probably at least a year before I actually ventured into the other movie on the tape. Why? I don't know. It was even listed on the label that she had it on there. And I knew from that cassette that, obviously, hey, dumbass. And yet it, for whatever reason, didn't connect the freaking dots until I got up for a minute, while the credits were on from Help, and it rolled over into the other one, and I came back and... What is this? There's another Beatle movie? My mom's like, yeah. It's literally labeled on the tape. And she's saying like I'm the biggest dumbass who has ever lived. I'm just like, are there others? Yes. How many others are there? Just blew my freaking mind. But I think at home she only had those two that were technically Beatle movies. She had a bunch of documentaries, but the only two movies she actually had. She thought she had Yellow Sub. Apparently it had been taped over at some point, which, R.I.P. that poor tape. But, so I did not have immediate access to that one. But I think that was like the day that all of a sudden it all began to click of, wait a minute. So the Beatles are the same people in Help and Hard Day's Night and Sgt. Pepper. Those cartoons I used to watch, isn't that them too? Yes! Yes, that's all them! What? Nuh-uh, no way! Yeah, that's all them. Oh my god, they're like the most awesome people ever! Are there other albums? Yeah, lots of them! It's like, I'd apparently been hearing them without realizing I'd been hearing them my whole life, because she like dug through and pulled them all out to show me all the ones she had, and I was like... And then looking at the songs, I was like, I have been hearing these like my whole life. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. But, yeah, that. I was just like, there's so many. Where do I even start? Well, for a start, you're not touching my turntable. But the albums, I need them. Yeah, your dad will probably make you a copy of them, but you're not touching my turntable. Fine. Which he was supposed to make copies of all of them, but he did not copy all of them. He copied some of them. But I mostly was like sticking hardcore to Help because I didn't need any additional help really to play that. And then once I figured out Hard Day's Night was on there and that was them too, you know, that as well. I was really like hardcore latched into these. And as fate would have it, what year was this? Oh, the year the Anthology came out. What? Yeah. Basically, best timing ever. I have to wonder if this hadn't have coincided with the Anthology, would I have, like, really dug my hooks in and, like, not let go? Or would this have been, like, a passing phase? I don't know, because that's how shit went down, and we see how that worked out for me. But, anyway, the Anthology came out, it aired on TV, we taped the first 2 episodes, we tried to tape the third, but my dumbass self messed that one up because I was trying to set the VCR to tape it, and instead of starting at 9 and ending at 11, I didn't really know how to set a recorder, and I had it start at 11. Yeah, so I got like the last few minutes of part 3, but pretty much I only had parts 1 and 2 to really watch to death. And again, believe you me, I did watch them to death. I can still recite the TV versions of Anthology parts 1 and 2. I can recite them word for word to this day because I watched them that many times. But there was another interesting little thing with the Anthology. Because not only were there the new music videos and everything that went with them for Free as a Bird and Real Love, and people talking about it on the news like it was a big fucking deal that there was new Beatles songs all of a sudden after 30 years. Oh, did I forget to mention, even in the commercials, Ringo had that, what was it, Discover card that he did the artwork for? So there was Ringo commercials. There was, I believe, the Pizza Hut commercial, the first iteration of that, also aired during this. I know there was the later one, but there was the earlier one too. There was 2. But I believe that was also during the Anthology, because I have it on the tape. Even though, aesthetically, you look at the monkeys, I'm like, isn't that like the Justice period? I thought that was like 97. Well, if that was 97, why do I have it on this tape? Is this some Mandela shit? I don't know, but I've got it. Regardless, I still have the tapes. I can back this up, so... Anywho, there was that. I want to say there was a couple others, too, that were also Beatle-y ones, and there was also the commercials for the anthology itself, and all the little things for A Beatle C that they were airing it on. It just, oh my god, it's still, so nostalgic, even remembering it now. It's so crazy, but I loved it hardcore, and I watched that thing every frigging day. I cannot tell you for how long I watched it. I did not have the VHS set right away that they sold that was like 8 tapes. If I had, I probably would have watched them as obsessively. I now have them. I have the DVD set too. I don't have the Laserdisc set because I don't have a Laserdisc player, so kind of no point in buying that. But I do have the actual factory sold versions of both. And then the albums that went along with them too. My dad actually bought them for himself, or at least he started to. It quickly got taken over by me by the time the third one came out, because they didn't all come out as quickly as the anthology parts aired on TV. They spread them out over quite a ways, but by part 3, he just gave it to me. He's like, you're gonna take it anyway, so... but I had started out by just, like, listening to them on the stereo in his bedroom, and I kept them right there and everything. It wasn't until I got my own boombox with a CD player in it that I kind of took off with them for my own. But even before that, I'd been using like a Discman Walkman with the CD player in it, because it was the only CD player I personally had access to outside of the one in his bedroom up at that point. And I kind of had a habit of taking off with the anthology CDs. Honestly, it was like, you listen to them so obsessively. You know what? Please, take them. Take them and listen to them with headphones on, please. I was like, okay, if you insist, but I want to say he tried to copy them onto tape, but they were 2 disc sets, and trying to fit that on cassettes, he very quickly gave up and was like, screw it, just take them and go. And for Christmas that year, I got Abbey Road on CD. It was the first Beatles CD that was given to me as solely mine from the get-go. I was like, I actually own one! And, like, I, to this day, still, like, I actually get emotional remembering the moment that I opened that exact one. I was like, it's actually mine! Oh my god, I have a Beatles CD that's mine! Like, I'm literally tearing up just remembering it now. That's stupid. But I got that. My mom got Past Masters Volume 2 for Christmas that year, which he promptly made a cassette copy of. He was like, leave your mothers alone. Okay, whatever you say. And I'm thinking, you know I'm gonna take it too, but okay, for now, I'll leave it alone. But yeah, eventually, it went with me. But by the time where they all just hit the point of burnout, fuck, just take them and go. Just shut up. Stop playing them to death. I think it was not long after that, too, that, I want to say he also got me the Yellow Submarine soundtrack album, which I also latched onto like crazy, even though I had not even yet seen the film yet, but I loved it. I loved even the orchestral side of it. I thought it was really cool, because prior to really having Beatle things my own, I had like a little FM radio in my room that, good luck getting any reception. We live in a mountainy area, so good luck. So a lot of times when I could get to come in with, like, a classical station, so I kind of channeled my inner Bugs Bunny, would, like, pretend to be the orchestra conductor to all this stuff. So for me, I was just fine with the orchestral stuff, whatever. So I had that. But now that I had that, now I was like, well, now I want to see Yellow Submarine. So we packed up and we went to Blockbuster to try and find Yellow Submarine. And you know what Blockbuster didn't have? Yellow Submarine. I was so mad. I was so effing mad. I can't even tell you. But you know what they did have? Magical Mystery Tour. Fine. My dad he had never seen Magical Mystery Tour. If he had, he probably would not have been making a copy of this for a 10-year-old child, given the stripper scene at the end of it. But, after he copied it and he saw that, he's like, you're a girl, you're eventually gonna have those, it's fine. But, so I was like, oh, okay, great parenting. A+. A+. He was like, it's harmless, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. If it were a naked guy, this would be different, but... Anyway, I mean, they didn't really, show anything. It was censored, so... It's not that bad. It was more just the power of suggestion, but... Weird as the film is, just because it was Beatles, I loved it, and because it surrounded Ringo, I loved it, and I kind of decided at this point, oh, so all of the Beatle movies are about Ringo. Cool! Because I apparently, by this point, had already made my choice. He was my favorite. Because he was Mr. Ring Guy, and he was the one with the pink suit on Sgt. Pepper, and he was the one that sang all the songs, and he was the one in Help with the Puppy Dog Eyes. So I just, oh my god, I love him. I just want to hug him. Oh my god, Ringo. And my grandpa, for the life of him, could not understand. He is the homeliest motherfucker I've ever seen. Why? Why do you like him? Paul is cute. Your mother liked Paul when she was little. Why don't you like him? And I'm like, Paul looks like a girl. I like Ringo. He's just like, why? He's so ugly. And this made him insane. He could not wrap his head around. Why? And I was like, well, I think he's cute. Look at his eyes. He's like a puppy dog. He's adorable. What? I was like, and he has blue eyes, they're beautiful, and he's short, and I'm short, and just, aww, and just, I thought he was the cutest thing on two legs that ever lived, and nobody for the life of them could understand my logic on this. My youngest sister, to this day, is just like, yeah, no, he is, the ugliest person I've ever seen. I don't see what you see in him. I'm like, think about most of the people I like. They're generally not traditionally attractive. I'm not a traditionally attractive person, so maybe it's some subconscious thing. I don't know, but I latched onto Ringo, and sometime around the point where I saw Help, and I'd turn the tape off because I'd start getting ready for school, and I just kind of defaulted to PBS. What should come on? Shining Time Station, and the opening credits with Ringo Starr as Mr. Conductor, and holy crap, I about gave myself whiplash. What? Wait, is there another Ringo Starr in the world, or is this the same guy too? And I was like, no, that's the same guy too, and you've been watching him since you were 4. And I was like, no way. And I sat there, I made a point of watching that episode that day, and was like, that is Ringo, oh my god! He has a beard and an earring, and oh my god, that's Ringo. Which, I mean, yeah, that kind of tied in with how he looked in the Anthology, but I had this moment shortly before the Anthology aired. I know, out of order here, but as I'm remembering it, I'm telling it, so... Anyway, that also probably played into why I latched onto Ringo way early and just didn't let go. Paul took over when hormones kicked in as a teenager, but at this point it was Ringo. So anyways, at the same time we got Magical Mystery Tour from Blockbuster, we also got the first All-Star Band tour video, which I also watched obsessively to death, but I did it where I kind of fast-forwarded anybody's music who wasn't Ringo in it, for the most part. Occasionally I would watch the whole thing, but I was like, most of this is boring. The Joe Walsh stuff I kind of like because I recognized it, because my parents played the Eagles plenty at home, so I recognized his. And even at my uncle's house when he would play, just the radio and Eagles would come on, Life in the Fast Lane, I was like, oh, that's from Ringo's band! I don't think I quite comprehended the whole concept of how the All-Stars worked just yet at that age, so cut me a little slack. I know, I'm pretty dumb, but yeah, I didn't quite get that. I didn't get it until I went and saw them the first time. That was like, oh, so it was like different people every time. Oh. Oh, and they're all like famous people. Okay, I get it. But my dad's brother is also a huge Beatle maniac, and he was just like, I don't know how you got into them, but that was the coolest thing ever. And he kind of like helped this along too. He even had like one cabinet in his house that was all like his really high-end fancy Beatles memorabilia. I mean, he also had other things like he'd wear Beatle ties and stuff, but that cabinet, I was so enamored. Like, I didn't want to touch anything. That was like one thing that like pretty much everyone in my family knew from the time I was tiny, that I could be trusted with breakable stuff, and I won't touch. I just want to look. I just like to look at them, and I like to look at all the details. Probably another Aspie status thing from way early on too, but just, he had the Franklin Mint domes. He had all 6 of them. There was a Sgt. Pepper one, Help one, Abbey Road. I think Beatles 6, one with the umbrellas. I want to say there was a Yellow Submarine one, and what the frig was the other one? There were 6 of them. Well, regardless, apparently, unbeknownst to me, he bought a second set, and he put it aside, and he had every intention of, when I was such and such an age as an adult, he was going to give them to me. Unfortunately, when he went through his divorce with his wife took off with those and pawned them. But it's the thought that counts. I am touched that he thought enough of me, even at that young an age, that he did that. He didn't have to. Even though I didn't end up with him, that is still really sweet. I have to admit. But he had, like, concert ticket stubs from, like, when he saw Paul and stuff, and I was like, you've seen Paul? It's, like, impossible to see Paul. I mean, at that point, he still hadn't toured in years and years and years. He had done, like, the one-off one in the early 90s, and then didn't tour again until, like, 2002, but this is pre-2002, so I was just like, wow, you actually got to see Paul. I wish I could see Paul. And I was like, did you see the Beatles when they were a thing? And I feel like he may have said yes. I was like, that's okay. My 6th grade teacher, who was instantly my favorite teacher, also got to see them. She not only saw them, she saw them at Candlestick. So, still jealous to this day. Still jealous. And like the day that I learned of this, oh my god, I think I asked her about it so many times to where it was just like, oh my god, don't you have anything else you talk about? But yeah, no, even though she's like, I was so far back, they looked like ants. I was watching through binoculars, okay? It wasn't like I was right against the stage or anything. I didn't get to meet them or anything. I was there. I was like, but you were there, though. It's just the concept of it. And, like, by this point, like, every time we got to, like, the day of the week where we got to do, like, art projects for school, always Beatle-themed. Every effing time. Even when we got to, like, Dare, yeah, because I was a 90s kid, so Dare was still a thing. There was, like, some project we had to do where, like, you had to draw a picture of somebody who was an example of somebody who doesn't do drugs, right? Totally missed the point all to fucking together. I drew Ringo. Yeah. And the kid next to me is just like, he did, like, all the drugs. I was like, no, he didn't. Yes, he did. And, like, I got into a full-on fight to where I think I got sent to the principal over it because we were fighting so bad over me being vehemently, but he did not do drugs. And then my mom had to sit me down when I got home from school that day, and yes, he did. They all did. It's like, damn it. Fine. Hold on, let me answer this real quick. Okay, so anyways, yeah, there was that. There was some watercolor project we had to do. I remember I did the Yellow Submarine in like 5th grade. My teacher was like, so like, do your parents listen to the Beatles a lot at home? Or like, how did you get into them? I'm like, oh, it wasn't my parents. I did this all on my own. They're driven nuts by it. Oh, yeah, well, okay. And like, she didn't know quite what to make of it, because like I said, back then, this was not a common thing for a little kid to be into the Beatles. Nowadays, yeah, you see it all the time. But back then, that was not something you saw too often. So I felt like the weirdest person on the face of the earth. I was already the bullied kid from day one in school, but oh boy, did this compound my weirdness factor just that much more and gave people just that much more to run with. But, anyways, there was that. There was, like, some Easter project where we made bunnies that could be dressed up in anything we wanted, and I made a Ringo bunny. I think we still have it somewhere. I actually was pretty proud of that, not gonna lie. I thought my Ringo bunny was fucking cute as hell. But, so there was that. We had to write short stories for English. Little did I know I was writing fanfiction stories back then, but apparently these were like my earliest Beatle fanfics that I was writing for school. Ironically, like this was something that was like a carryover from how I played with Polly Pockets and things, like this one storyline where I basically tried to like do my own spin-off of Help. I made my own version that I kind of did over and over and changed each time a little bit more, but I decided to make it into a story for school, and actually my teacher wanted to keep it because she liked it so much. I think she might still have it, but I did another one later on in the year, and then one the year after that, but that teacher just wasn't having it. She was like, yeah, no, you have to make up your own characters, and fine, I'll do it. But I tried anyway. But by then it was like, now everyone in the family kind of knew that I was a Beatlemaniac. Now they started buying me all the things. The albums, the memorabilia, the pins, just everything. Like, that was one thing I could get away with wearing to school, was I had like one, like, what are they called? Like, tight tack pins? Is that it? The ones that, they're like made of metal, they have the little thingy that you clip to the back of the pin. Is that a tight tack pin? I don't know. But regardless, I had an Abbey Road one. It was kind of sizable. I was allowed to get away with wearing that on my school uniform, which I don't know why or how I was allowed to get away with that, but I was allowed to get away with that apparently, and nobody gave me trouble. None of the teachers or anything. I was allowed to wear it. But, they were all giving me stuff like that, which was really cool. And then it, like, started getting around to, like, my grandparents' neighbors, like, apparently the dude across the street, because it was, like, such an uncommon thing for a kid to be into him, I kind of kept it to myself for as long as I could until I just couldn't keep it to myself anymore, because it just was so pervasively into, like, every aspect of my life now. Apparently I should have opened my mouth a little sooner, because the dude across the street from my grandparents was like, oh my god, I wish I'd known. I just got rid of all of my daughter's Beatles stuff that she left behind when she moved out, like a couple months ago. If I'd had any idea that you loved them, I would have just given that all to you. I still, to this day, I'm like, why couldn't I have opened my mouth a little bit sooner? But, apparently it was a good amount of stuff, too, from what I'm told. I was like, damn it! And my grandpa was like, yeah, no, he's not just saying that. I helped him clear that room out. And I'm like, and you didn't say anything to him? Just like, I didn't think to, I'm sorry. And drama. But anyways, it just all of a sudden quickly was like every aspect of my life. Playing with Legos, I had one Lego that I turned into Ringo, like by taking different pieces of different Lego people. I actually like kind of recreated jankily the outfit he wore in his first All-Star tour with the pink star jacket. I actually very carefully crafted out of a pink paper napkin. I made a little tiny jacket for it and I drew stars on it. But I found a Lego head that had the facial hair on it and sunglasses. I stole the little brunette ponytail off one of the girls and stuck it on him and gave him black pants, and there, it's Ringo. I think I drew like a couple little dots on the hands to be rings, but I think they rubbed off real fast. But I tried. So, long before the Yellow Submarine Lego set was the thing, I made my own Ringo Lego. Just saying. With my Polly Pockets, oh my god. Like, the one that was, the Heart Castle that had the little prince that was in the blue suit that looked suspiciously Sergeant Peppery. Yeah, now this was officially Paul and Linda as far as I was concerned. And then tried to find other Polly Pockets. I was like, so who will be the other three? Unfortunately, none of them really looked enough like them to be that convincingly them, but I decided, well, that one's Ringo, that one's John, that one's George, and that is just how it is from now on. And that one's Patty, and that one's Cynthia, that one's Yoko, and this one's Maureen. I apparently left Barbara out for whatever reason. And I had my own little Beatle adventures with my Polly Pockets all of the damn time. Even with the mansion that had the little coupe. Ironically, I am staring at that mansion right now. It is sitting right across from me. That was not I wonder if it has the car in it. Hold on, let me look. It might have it in it. It might. Let me see. It's missing some of the pieces at this point. I told you, I'm not joking. I still have it. Is it there? Nope, the car is gone. Damn. Damn, is it in here? Nope. Nah. Oh, the horse is gone too. Oh, well, I was gonna show you the car, but, because you would press a little button on it, it would launch the car out, and when I would have it launch the car out, I'd yell, beep, 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 yeah, every time I did it, like a freaking nerd. I thought I was, like, the cleverest person on the planet back when I was doing it, but now saying it out loud, I'm like, that is lame as hell. Anyways, so it encompassed every aspect. Oh, even the Barbies. I had my Ringo Ken doll, which wasn't even technically a Ken. I think he was from, like, the Hart family set. He just happened to be brunette with vaguely Beatlesque hair and blue eyes, so therefore I decided, okay, he's Ringo. And here's a suit for him. Yep, that's Ringo. And all of the Barbies want him because he's Ringo and he's awesome. Did I need the other three? Nah, just Ringo. Ringo's good. I think I, like, tried to use my Prince Eric doll as Paul, but was like, he's not Paulish enough for me. I mean, technically he's got the epaulets on the jacket, but it's not the right color, and nah. I didn't even bother with the other two. But yeah, that was a thing. I admittedly had one black-haired Barbie that became Yoko. I frizzed out its hair on purpose so it could be Yoko. I apologize. I was like 11, okay? I wasn't all into the sensitivity shit back then, but I was just like, okay, it's Yoko, and she's going to go around going, "Aye!" at people, or however I imitated her singing. Because at that age, I don't think I really knew much about actual Yoko beyond just what my mom had said in her imitation of her, which was a very racist imitation of her, by the way. So, yeah, that, I actually don't hate Yoko, for the record. I know I've made a video on that too, but anyways, going right along. So there was those videos I had, and it kind of spurred along how I played with toys and shit. But I did eventually get my hands on Yellow Submarine. I got it from the library. My dad had to like try and copy it using like the pass-through method with a camcorder and the VCR, and it was like a whole thing, but it had like copyright protection on it, so it would like dim dark to light to dark to light. And because I only had that one copy of it to watch, to this day, like, my brain still expects in certain spots for it to like dim down or get brighter, and I'm like, I know that this copy isn't going to do that, but why? It's just so burned into my psyche from years ago of that version of it, which incidentally was, I guess, the American version before the 99 release. So it still had the other alternate scenes in it that the current version one does not. So that was a thing. I still held on to the tape just because of that, because I don't think we've seen a release of Yellow Submarine that's included both of them. I would kind of like to see a release that has that as like a bonus feature. If we could find that, if that were a thing, I would retire that VHS tape. Because every time that I find one where it's like, okay, this completely replaces that tape, I can retire that tape and it's okay. Unless I like really like the artwork on it, if it's a actual factory release one. I guess commercially released is the word I'm looking for. But regardless, so that is a thing. I got that and I fell in love. Hardcore with it. Basically made it my mission in life to learn how to draw that style of artwork. Yellow Submarine is why I'm still to this day trying to master watercolors, because the backgrounds in that are watercolored. I'm that big of a nerd, guys. I'm that big of a nerd. But seeing that on the big screen a few years ago, by the way, and really just taking in the artwork and the art styles on it all. It wasn't even the first time I've seen it in the theater, but just since I've really started trying to like hone in on learning that skill, mind-blowing. It's one of those things where I feel like back at the time, the blotchiness of those backgrounds bugged me initially, but now I want nothing more than to learn how to do them. Go figure. Go figure. It all comes full circle. But, anywho. So there was that. And I think my other uncle started buying me, like, solo Paul stuff. No, that was a little bit later, because that was after McCartney Week. So, leading up to Flaming Pie, VH1 did McCartney Week. I think this was the beginning of my shift from Ringo into Paul, but it didn't happen immediately. But it was planting the seeds. But it was like 24 hours a day of Paul stuff. Some Beatles, but mostly Paul stuff on VH1. And because I didn't have cable at home at that point, my uncle actually tried to tape as many hours of each day as he possibly humanly could for me. If he was at work when one of the tapes ran out, I was SOL on those hours, but if he was home, he would like literally set an alarm just so he would wake up to like change the tapes. So I have the grand bulk of McCartney Week. I still have those tapes too, I think. All documented, which was pretty damn cool, all leading up to that town hall conference where it was something like you could get online and submit questions and stuff, which was mind-blowing back then. Now it's so commonplace, it's not even a big deal. But back then, he was like the first celebrity to do that, I think. And to have it aired and everything for the answers. None of my questions got answered, but I tried. But, it was really cool, though, and there was so much hype leading up to the release of Flaming Pie, to where when it did come out, I was like, I need it. I absolutely need it. And I bought it with my own money, I believe. I think it was even the first album I bought with my own money. And that was my first solo Paul album, and it, to this day, will forever hold a special place in my heart because of it. It's why, the Super Deluxe release that's happening later this year, I am saving my pennies so I can splurge on that. Because unless it's something stupid like $500, I won't pay that, but if it's like $200, you better believe I'm actually going to spend the money on that. I don't have any of the McCartney Super Deluxe editions, but that one I would shell out for because of that, because it's just so special in my heart. So there was that, and I think the same day, I also finally got the album of Help. And I was like, I finally own it. This is like the best day ever. It made up for the fact that it was also the day that I quit cheerleading, but because I could not anymore. But yeah, it took the sting out of that and turned it into a good day. So I had those, and I was watching all the Paul stuff, and I got my hands on Give My Regards to Broad Street, which again, I know people shit all over that movie. At that point, I don't think I had enough, hold on a minute. Okay, sorry about that. I'm back now. Where was I? I think Give My Regards to Broad Street. So I know that people rag on that one, but it is honestly a guilty pleasure. I don't think I had enough experience with movies that were high quality to really know that it was technically a bad movie back then. So I just unashamedly loved it, and now it's sentimental, so I still do, but see, if I had maybe just now discovered it, I probably would have been like, oh yeah, that movie's crap, but since I grew up with it, I love it, but that's just me. But, I was watching that all the time, I was watching a rock show all the time, just so much stuff from the McCartney Week got played over and over and over ad nauseum, and I think it was around then I started trying to rope my siblings into the fandom, but at the same time, you can't have Ringo for your favorite, he's mine, you can't have him, because clearly he can only be one person's favorite, right? I don't know what my logic was on this, it was totally stupid. So, my one sister picked, I think, Paul at that point, but eventually later defected to John. My brother picked John, though, even though he was so little that he mixed up his name as John Harrison back then, and I was never quite sure if that was an innocent mistake or if he did it just to bug me because he knew I was so OCD about it. But yeah, we would go play Beatles together, and try to, like, act out things from the movies and all, because we were nerds like that. We would just, like, play with toys and who gets who as the Beatles to play with, because, again, nerds. But, I mean, they were a lot younger than me, whereas I probably should have been old enough to have been beyond that, but definitely wasn't, so whatever. Just the irony that nobody picked George, and then my other sister comes along years later, knows nothing of any of this because clearly we're older and got past the only one person can have each as their favorite thing. And she picked George just on her own. It's like, oh, okay. I think she later switched out to Paul, I think. I don't know. But, yeah, that. So anyway. And then I started roping my cousins into it, which my uncle's kids, with he being a Beatlemaniac, some of them ended up becoming equally as diehard of fans, and then my cousins on the other side, well, mostly just, the one girl cousin on that side, we would like karaoke in my grandparents' garage to the CDs I'd bring over, and she would bring hers over, and it was kind of like a mutual appreciation thing. If you'll put up with my Beatles, I'll put up with your Michael Jackson, even though I kind of liked Michael on my own, so I didn't mind that, and, you know, there's some overlap with Paul, so there's some common ground there, and she still brings it up from time to time, it's really cute. So there was that, and then I started hitting the teen years, where it began to shift. Oh boy, did it begin to shift when all of a sudden Paul took the helm. I mean, part of it was that I discovered his solo career. I realized he's awesome. And part of it was purely just shallowness in, you know what, he's hot. Like, I'm not gonna lie, he's hot. But, so there was that. But I also discovered the online Beatles communities. And oh boy, did I die hard jump into them. I mean, my dad basically taught me initially with the internet when I was like 9 or 10 years old that the internet is for saving pictures, which is a bold-faced lie, but I mean, told this to me, who takes everything literally, and I interpreted that as save every single Beatle picture you ever find onto the hard drive. All of them. Every single one. Even ones you're not into. Just save all the things, because that is what the internet's for. And I still kind of have this bad habit to this day, even though I'm not even quite sure why I'm saving them at this point. At least back then it was because I was like trying to build Beatle websites of my own. Now it's like, well, I've just been doing it so many years. Now it's just habit, and I do it with all of my fandoms. So, I don't know, but then it turned into just save all of the Beatle things, period, that I find. But I found like the news groups and the message boards and everything, and the Yahoo clubs, and just got way, way, way into it. Basically, everyone that I knew online were all Beatle fans, and if they weren't, I really didn't have any business talking to them, was as far as I was concerned with it all, because the internet was for Beatle stuff. And occasionally video games, but usually Beatle stuff. So, so that was the beginning of meeting a lot of people that I'm actually still to this day friends with. I realized this could have potentially been a very dangerous thing for a young kid, but I guess I have enough common sense to not do anything stupid, really. So there was that, but yeah, it was just a crazy time, and then finding the other Beatles fanfiction writers, oh dear god. Oh my god, that's when I like really got like way hardcore into it. And then it started shifting into I would bring like my CD wallet completely filled with nothing but Beatles and bring like a Walkman with me to school because I frankly didn't have much interest in having anything to do with other people because they didn't understand me. I didn't understand them. Fuck it. I'm going into my own little world now. And that added to my weird factor that much further, but what can you do? I started toting around my big-ass Beatle books like the Anthology with me to school. The hardcover. Yeah. Thank God I had a rolling backpack, because otherwise I probably would have destroyed my back carrying that. And it usually wasn't even the only book I had with me. I mean, who needs actual textbooks, am I right? Who needs to, like, actually do schoolwork there? Huh. Because I'd be sitting there in classes, totally not paying attention, sitting there just, like, drawing the Beatles in my notebooks, not taking actual notes or anything. Because genius did not understand the value of a good education back then. Or, alternately, if I was trying to not be as obvious in what I was doing, I would full-on be writing my Beatles fanfiction stories in my notebooks, because at least then it's not obvious at a quick glance I'm dicking off, because I'm not drawing anything. It looks like I'm taking notes. I'm not, but yeah, this is when it started to become a thing where my parents were like, this might be becoming somewhat of an issue. You're starting to fail all of your classes because of this. And then I just blamed it on, well, it's because I want to be in home study. Which, I mean, was true. And I did end up in home study. And when I was there, I legit did end up doing a million times better because I did actually have to do the work then. But I also had a lot of hours of the day to just throw at this band that are now opened up to me. Uninterrupted. Yeah. Don't copy what I did, because that was not the way to go about it. But, I'm sure there's a happy medium in there somewhere that I probably could have hit that I definitely missed the mark on, but it's all said and done now, and it ended up okay. Because when I did eventually graduate, I did have almost a perfect grade point average, so just saying, the only class that I did badly in at that point once I started trying was math, so anywho, and from there it mostly just kind of petered out into the level that it stayed at the rest of my life since then. It's like, they're a constant. Sometimes other fandoms crop up that take the wheel for a while as the one that I talk about nonstop and kind of immerse myself with, but they're always the thing I come back to time and time again. They never are something that I've ever stopped being a fan of. Or just, I don't know, it's one of those things where I almost start to take it for granted at times, where it's just like, they're so always there to where I kind of don't even think about it for periods of time while I'm focusing on other fandoms and stuff. But then as soon as shit goes down somewhere, what do I come back to for comfort? every single time, more so than anything else in my life, always them. Always them. Every person I have ever dated, 100% true, every single one, has to be a Beatlemaniac. If they are not even up for consideration. That sounds petty as shit, but you know what? It's like, it's one of those things where it'd be such a compatibility issue to me if they weren't, to where I just, nope, don't even want to go there. Don't even want to consider it. Which sounds so bad and so terrible, but it's like, really though, unless you actually experience it that hardcore to like how I do, there'd just never be that level of understanding. There'd always be a divide, and no, don't want to deal with it. I'd rather just deal with somebody who gets it, who won't mind hearing me go on and on and on at length, ad nauseum, every day about this band for the rest of all time, you know? So, which, I mean, again, to a non-fan, just sounds obsessive and creepy, but when you're in a fandom, that's kind of how it is, especially when you're, like, hardcore into them, and have been your entire life. You don't know anything else. I don't know what it's like to not have them in my life. They have always been in it to some capacity. Like I said, I don't know what it's like to not be a fan of theirs. I don't know what my life would be like if I hadn't discovered them, because basically every single aspect of my life has in one way or another all hinged off of this band. Every musical instrument I ever learned, I generally learned both because they played those and because I wanted to be able to play their songs on them. Artistically, I wanted to learn all these techniques so I could make artwork of them. And I wanted to go to art school to be like them, even though I didn't end up getting to do that, so I've just, on my own, basically done that on it through other mediums to learn it, but I took up photography because I wanted to be like Linda McCartney. There's so many things. So many things. I learned to knit, well, this one's a 50-50 between two fandoms. I learned to knit both so I could make the Mike Nesmith hat, and also I wanted to learn how to make sweater vests like Paul McCartney wears. Dead serious, that was why I learned how to knit. I still haven't gotten there on the sweater vests yet, though. It will be a proud day the day I figure that out. It's just so many things. So many things. Like, literally just about anything. There's very few things that I can't tie back to them. So it's just like, how different would my life have been if they had never come into it? I don't even know. And I kind of don't want to know. I'm glad that it happened the way that it did. So, I don't know. There's so many people that I never would have met if it weren't for that. Just, I feel like I owe pretty much my entire life to this band, so it's just like, yeah, it's hero worship. Yeah, it's kind of idolatry even. But on the other hand, it's like, looking at it objectively, yeah, I've kind of based my entire life off of this band. Even personal senses of style have generally always had something to do with them, both in what I wear, in my, well, not right now with my hair, but at different points with my hair, my style just in general on anything, always has something to do with them usually. So, everything, like literally everything in my life has something to do with them. And it's kind of crazy. But it's good crazy. I enjoy it. It's like harmless crazy. It's not like scary crazy. Because I know for those who aren't fans, they're probably thinking, Jesus Christ, are you like a psycho stalker? No. No. I mean, there was that one time I tried to go up to Ringo's house, but no. Yeah, that happened. No, I didn't get to meet him. No, I didn't even get to see him. I just knew where his house in LA was, and I kind of wanted to take a picture in front of it, and a security guard told me to get lost, and that was that. That is the end of that story, so. But apart from that one isolated incident, no, I'm not any kind of, like, scary psycho stalker, just a really, really, really big fan. And I know lots of other really, really, really big fans who arguably are possibly somehow even bigger fans than I am. You know, it's crazy. So, Again, I don't know what life would look like without being a Beatlemaniac, but I'm glad that they came into it because I feel like my life is a lot better for having that influence in it. So, anywho. Like I said, basically everything from that point onward is more or less kind of status quo, so there's not a whole lot to say there. I mean, if there's anything you want to know about it from that point on, I can answer it, but I don't think there's anything that interesting going forward from there. It was mostly just the how I got into them, I think, is what you guys were looking for, not the my entire history ever of being a Beatles fan. No, I figured I would just focus on the formative years that spouted it up into what it became. There you go. I don't know if this was interesting for anyone. I don't know if it was boring. It was probably boring, but like I said, a lot of people ask about it, and given how long this answer is, how many times I have typed it out, I'm like, I'm tired of typing this. Here you go. It's in video form. It probably is still shorter than it takes me to type that entire thing out. So, anyways. As we speak, my friend is now filming her video like this too, so hopefully by the time this goes up, hers will be up, and I can link to that. Speak of the devil, that's the message that she just finished, so I will include that link down below. Let me answer this real quick and I'll wrap this up. Okay, yep, I was right, she finished up hers, so I have to double check what her screen name is currently set to for her YouTube channel, so that's why I'm not dropping a name here, but in the next one that we do in conjunction like this, I will definitely drop the name of the channel as well, although I will have it down when I link it in the description. So anyways, you guys know what to do. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you're not already and you'd like to be, click subscribe. Hit that notification bell icon so you never miss an upload. Leave comments down below. Hopefully some of you guys found this relatable on some level or another. If you're a fellow Beatles fan, I would love to hear your story of how you got into them, either in the comments, or if you make a video, either a past one that you already made, or if you make a new one now, please link me to it, because I would like to see it, because I find these things interesting. Make sure you're following my social media accounts, my Facebook fan page, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Etsy, everything and more. It's all down below, and if you like what I do here on this channel and you'd like to help support it, the donation link, as always, is down in the description. And anyway, guys, until next time, I will see ya. Bye-bye.